Welcome to the most important day of the year at NECI. It's really special to see all those people in whites out there. It's really terrific. I remember about 15 years ago watching the American Music Awards, and Meryl Streep was given the honor of presenting a Lifetime Achievement Award to Paul McCartney. And even though she was accustomed to public speaking, as we all well know, she was tongue-tied with the opportunity to introduce one of the former Beatles. This is pretty much how I feel right now. We have a unique opportunity today to share graduation with two of the culinary world's greatest chefs, Daniel Boulud and Gavin Kaysen. Allow me a moment to try to do justice to their accomplishments. Daniel Boulud was born in Lyon, France. His formal training in the kitchen would eventually bring him to New York City, where he has become one of America's most revered chefs. His culinary empire now includes Restaurant Daniel, DB Bistro Bounder, DBGB Kitchen and Bar, Bar Boulud, Cafe Boulud, Boulud Soup, Epicure Boulud, and also restaurants in London, Miami, Palm Beach, Singapore, Beijing, and I guess relatively soon in Montreal. He has been bestowed with many accolades, including James Beard Foundation Outstanding Chef, James Beard Foundation Outstanding Restaurateur, and membership in the Chevalier Legion of Honor bestowed by the French government. Chef Boulud has authored 6 cookbooks and host of the television show After Hours with Danielle. He's an active supporter of City Meals on Wheels and chairman of the Bocuse USA Foundation. In his spare time, he's agreed to spend the day with us. And I emphasize spare time. Chef Gavin Kaysen is a graduate of NECI, having earned both an associate and baccalaureate degree from this institution. He is Chef Boulud's executive chef at Cafe Boulud and has held that position since 2007. He represented the United States at the Bocuse d'Or competition in France. Gavin was awarded Critics' Choice Best Chef by San Diego Magazine, named by Food and Wine Magazine as one of America's 10 best new chefs in 2007. He was a competitor on the next Iron Chef TV series and returned to Iron Chef America to cross tongs with Iron Chef Michael Simon in Battle Octopus. By the way, he left Michael Simon whimpering in defeat. Are you still on speaking terms with him?
Yeah, I'm sure he wants to battle again.
In 2008, Chef Kaysen won James Beard Foundation's prestigious Rising Star Chef Award. Quite a series of accomplishments for a young culinarian. Please give a warm welcome to our honored guest chefs, Daniel Boulud and Gavin Kaysen.
Good morning.
So, our format today is a little bit unusual. Atypical would be for a speaker to give you some profound words of wisdom, but instead, I'm going to be Larry King, and I'm going to pose some questions to our guests and see how well they do with answering it. So, I'd like to say I didn't warn him in advance, but I did give him a little opportunity.
Thank you.
This first question goes to Chef Boulud. When a young, energetic cook recently graduated from culinary school applies to work at one of your restaurants, what do you look for?
Well, first, I want to make sure that young chef has read Letter to a Young Chef. That's a book I published about 5 years ago. And it was like many of us chefs telling the story of our life, but how do we become who we are? And it didn't happen by coincidence, it didn't happen by luck, but it happened by certainly disciplines and willingness to learn. And for example, this little shop Gavin Kaysen made is very much what one has to start with in order to maybe succeed one day to become a great chef. But Letter to Young Chef applied to me in a way, and I think it's a way of giving advice, and yet one has to choose his path from that. I think it's very important to for a young student, a student who are becoming a chef, is you're gonna have to all choose your mentor. And so who do you really dream to work for is very important, and why you want to work for that person. So for me, a young chef who come to me, I expect him to know everything about me. Not like, oh, you are one of 5 or 7 I'm choosing and I'll figure it out once I do my little stage here. No, it don't work that way. I want to make sure that if you want to apply, and I'm sure the faculty are totally agreeing with me. If you want to apply the job in my place, it's because you already did the cleanup before, and you knew that will be the place you should work for, or any other place you're going to choose to work for. You have the determination, and you made the right choice, and those people will have an impact on you if you are getting yourself into the door. And in order to get yourself into the door, you have to be convincing to the person you want to work for. I think it's very important. I think, for a young chef coming to my door, I will have no expectation of their experience. I will have my expectation will be more on the relationship. And I think when today someone come to apply for a job in our company, they will meet the chef de cuisine they want to work for. They will meet the person who gonna do the process to have them meet the chef. In the old days, the cooks will knock on the door and come directly to me. Now there's a little bit of a path to follow, but that's okay. You're gonna have to go through it, and it's good. But after that is the one-on-one with your chef, and is that connection you're gonna be able to give your chef in order for him to have the confidence that you're really an asset for him. Even if you don't know too much, you're gonna grow to be an asset. And for me, I have the pride when I see then a busboy in our restaurant became a general manager in one of our restaurants in Miami, and he started as a busboy at Daniel and as the lowest grade of service, or a young cook also. He started as an extern, came back after externship, and started to work for us, and now he's also a chef in Miami, and things like that, where I have so many of my staff who have been with me for so long, and they started from scratch, but they became the chef because they were convinced, and they were fully committed to go all the way up to the top. And so that's what I expect from a young chef.
Just a few things.
Well, very few things.
No pressure.
Only one thing. Choose well, choose wise, and succeed.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Kaysen, it may appear to some that today's work ethic is different than a decade ago. Can you address the work ethic expectation that you have of someone entering the kitchen today?
Well, first and foremost, congratulations to everybody for graduating and being here today. It's our honor to be here, to be able to do the duo speaking engagement. So, I think what Chef Danielle said actually touched a lot on it, which is foundation. I think that's actually the most important thing, whether the work ethic has changed or just kind of transformed and evolved a little bit over the last 10 years is probably a larger argument. But certainly I think the base of going out and finding a foundation, and if you want to become the best, you absolutely have to work for the best. When I was in San Diego and I had competed in the Bocuse d'Or, I had written a Christmas card to every big chef in America every year from like 2005 on. And I'm sure Danielle still has them somewhere, probably never read them, but they're there. But I always thought to myself, like, if I could get in their mind, and if I could kind of put myself mentally into that circle, I would be in that circle, and I would get to that point someday. And so I had always envisioned and always created that into my mind. I think the other thing that's important to note now more than ever, which we use it a lot, but it's the social media. And it makes people think very quickly about things, like everything's instant, right? So you see right away like where the chef is, what he's cooking, what he's doing on the line, what he's doing, where he's traveling, et cetera, et cetera. I tell the guys that work for me all of the time, you could be a cook in 9 great restaurants, but in the 10th restaurant, it doesn't make you a chef. It just makes you a cook. So the point is that you have to realize that that foundation is so important to build right away. Once you build that foundation, then you can do an incredible amount of things. We had a stage come in the other day, and we asked him to mince shallots for us, and he says, "Oh, I've never actually done that, but I've broken down a pig." And I said, "I don't understand. How can you break down a pig but never mince a shallot? You started at stage 450, and you haven't even done step 2 yet." So you have to see that foundation is extremely important, because you're always going to fall back on it. I mean, when you get into a kitchen and you're actually cooking and all of the media, everything's gone and it's just you and the cooks cooking, that's what it comes down to. It's the core, it's the passion, it's the why. It's why you want to be there. It's why you got into it today, and it's why you're still here today.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Baloo. Even though cooking has evolved, it still seems that really good cooking relies on the foundations established by Escoffier, Point, and many others. What is your feeling about good cooking today and where it is headed?
Well, the only thing I lived for was good cooking from the time I was born. I was born and raised on a farm, and for me, farm to table was not even farm to table, it was just like backyard to table. So, of course, from that, I grew to, first, I started at 14, so imagine you have a different age. And I just felt and I wanted to work for the best chef. And I happen to be French and I stick to French cuisine. But today, I think cuisine, and especially in America, it's a kaleidoscope. And I will say that you are so lucky compared to if you are Italian or if you are French or if you are Japanese, because you know we let you play with other cuisine, but mostly you're gonna stick to your own roots. But I think in America the diversity of the chef, the diversity of their background, of their region, or sometimes they are immigrants or they come to other continent or other country, and that will give you direction. I think it will give you foundation. You will start to go back into history of your family or sometime where you come from. And what's very important, I think, is, of course, Escoffier and French cuisine is a foundation, like other cuisine could be, but the best foundation, certainly, for, and again, I will say to read this one again, because it's based on French cuisine to begin with, and to understand that. But after that, with those foundations, you can choose to be who you want. But don't be confusing about how you're going to be able to select your cuisine, which cuisine you want to practice. I think it's very important to understand deeply one cuisine than try to master too many. Of course, today, I am in New York. I have different type of restaurant. We do different type of cuisine, and yet, for example, at Café Boulu, we have a menu voyage, where sometime we do. Yesterday, I had a Mexican soup, and we also do Vietnamese dishes, and we do Japanese, and we do Italian and Spanish at Boulu Sud and all that. And that I'll make sure that everything I do in our cuisine is based on the root and foundation of that particular cuisine. When we want to adapt maybe a dish or an aspiration from another cuisine. So it's okay to borrow from other, but don't mismatch stuff where you don't know exactly where this dish comes from or what are the real roots of that dish. Then, of course, today we are extremely lucky, and I think we're doing a better job in America today than it's happening sometime in Europe and all that, with farmers market, with locals, growers, and local farmers as well. And we can definitely have access to the freshest and the best as well. And that, I think, can also define your cuisine. Sometimes it's not always about trying to be French or Italian or Spanish or or Japanese or whatever. It's trying to be true to the ingredient because you have the best ingredient. So it's wonderful to go to the farmer's market and buy an incredible ingredient, but you have no right to destroy it. You only have the right to elevate it. So, because it'd be terrible to buy this freshest salad, but the seasoning is poor, and the whole salad is not unleavened. And so I think it's very important that whatever you choose to cook, whatever you do, you think carefully about your preparation in order to make that ingredient the center stage. I think it's very important. So cuisine, it's gonna keep rising. The level of technique, the technology in cuisine. I mean, everybody have seen the Modernist book, who was kind of wrapping up the last 25 to 30 years of evolution, and yet it's a revolution, but for you, only take it as evolution. Because I think cooking, I've only seen evolution in the past 40 years I've been cooking. So I'm sure it's gonna be an evolution for you.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Kaysen, building on that, NECI, as you know, has a strong belief in sustainable practices and supporting local and regional producers. And by the way, I might add that this week our restaurant received its green certification. So NECI is
Bravo!
So it's easy in Vermont.
Right.
So how do you approach this in New York City?
Well, I mean, we approach it in the same vein, basically, in New York City. I mean, we have farmers markets that we go to twice a week, sometimes more, with all the sous chefs. But also, you know, the thing is for us, we work with purveyors who either have had a relationship with Danielle for the last 20 plus years, or have a relationship with me for the last 10 years, or wherever it might be. And we continue to work with these purveyors all the time, so we know the best product that we can buy and where to buy it, and that's exactly where we go to. You know, I mean, the snapper that we catch that might be for the special that night, we know who caught it. We know the guy's name, we know the name of the boat, we know where they caught it, we know everything about it. You know, and I think that, you know, the farm to table is for us at least, it's less of a trend and it's more of an everyday practice, because it's not something that we ever kind of jumped on the bandwagon with, but it was just always something that's always been preached to us. And I think that what's important is that you respect the ingredient, you respect the product, but more importantly, you respect who you're serving it to. Because at the end of the day, all of this is very special to get those products in, but the guest who's come in to pay for the meal is why you're there. You know, you're there to make them happy, you're there to make their evening better than they expected it to be. That's the point of hospitality. And that's exactly why we're here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is better than Larry King. They don't applaud.
I like that. Yeah, no, it's true. We have an audience. Yeah.
And no scandalous questions.
Yeah, that's good.
Chef Ballou, cooks tend to feel that a great restaurant is all about the food. How important is the service aspect, and how do you approach service in your restaurants?
Well, I think for me, and I can be proud to say it, and the service, I am very proud of the service in my restaurant, but it's for me, it has always been the most important support to what we do in the kitchen. And in the old days, the waiters could barely come to the kitchen because he was gonna get. And I remember my early days in New York. There is my director of wine for the group, Daniel Jonas, still remember 30 years later, then I took a lobster and I threw it at him at the other side of the kitchen because he asked for something and I didn't want to give him because I was just like hot and on fire that day. And the man remember, and every time he tell me the story, I feel like, God, did I really did it? So I used to be much more hot-tempered, but then I became closer and closer to understand that service was going to help me be successful. And also, there's nothing more important than the impression you give to people when they call you. First when they make a reservation, then of course when they come to your restaurant, and how do you approach them with impeccable service, precision, and really anticipation and care in detail without having the customer feeling the service. And also the teamwork, the education of the waiters, education on the menu, education on wine, education on the city they work in, and the people who make that city, and our customer as well. So we have classes all the time in our restaurant, and we have when we do an opening of a restaurant, our manual of service is very thick, and we impose a lot on our staff, and we lose a little bit of staff at the beginning because some people think, oh, I know my job, what are you telling me? But we feel then it's the detail that we're going to impose on them in learning, then will make this amazing team. And for example, the biggest challenge we had in service in all our restaurants was in Beijing, because first the manual of service was that thick, because there isn't NECI or there isn't fancy hospitality school in China, and it's very difficult to bring also foreigners there. So we started with local kids who maybe has worked in Chinese restaurant, but they take the teapot, they put it over the table, clean it up, and next, And so to really bring a European style of service in China with kids coming out of the farmland around Beijing and never really worked in a fancy restaurant. It was education. It was basically starting from scratch for everything. We couldn't take anything for granted. We had to have maps with the numbers, the position numbers on the table, and then when you give the dish to the waiters, number one was the right hand, number two was the left hand, and because at the beginning of the service I was there doing the pass, and I will just pick up, and I will give it, but I will give them the wrong hand, and they will be lost. Like, what do I do? This is not because they had such. We almost made them at the beginning robots, so we want to make sure that they will be functioning together. And today it's much more smooth. It's much more appreciated, and interestingly, the people there in the Chinese customer weren't really expecting a high level of service from their own people because they didn't really have it. And compared to Hong Kong or compared to Japan or other country where the British was there and all that, so of course the customer will look at the waiters, and sometimes they can be tough a little bit on them, and suddenly they will look at them and smile and say thank you, and the waiters will smile because we taught them how to have the confidence to be able to serve people without being scared of them, and all that. And I think service, there's an entire career to build like a chef. It's as complex and as important as cooking. And so if any one of you want to choose the front of the house, I hope that you choose a very good mentor as well. And there's some amazing house. in New York City, part of my success, I worked for a restaurateur called Sergio Maccioni and at Le Cirque, and it was all about service. The one thing he didn't know was to be a great chef, but he knew how to be a great host. And I think I learned a lot from a man like him as well. And many restaurateurs in the past, they were mostly the greatest hosts on earth, and they became restaurateurs. Today, chefs become restaurateurs as well. But Danny Meyer, for example, a new generation of restaurateurs who it was all about service. The Four Seasons restaurant in New York, to me, is the temple of restaurant in New York, and the service made that place what it is. So service, yes, very important.
Chef Kaysen, the level of excellence at Cafe Bleu is truly a reflection of your commitment. So how do you inspire your team to have the same level of commitment that you do?
Well, I think for me, the level of commitment to Cafe Bleu or to the restaurant now is is actually just kind of a trickle down from what Danielle created there. I mean, that was the original restaurant Danielle, and then once he closed that to go open Danielle, he opened up Cafe Balud. But the little house that they gave you, which you all have when you walked in, was something that I created about a year ago, I think. Every year for the Bocuse d'Or, it's in Lyon, France. So his parents live about 35 minutes outside of Lyon. And now I've taken over his father's shed, and I have about 35 cases of equipment, 2 platters, I don't know what else I have over there. He reminds me often that I have
We
all
can
of
open
this
a
junk.
restaurant soon there.
Yeah, we could. There's so much junk there. But it's all for the Bocuse d'Or, and what's incredible to me is that I've actually never been to his parents' house with him, but I've always gone there for the equipment and to meet with his mom and his dad. And every time I'm there, it's usually around lunchtime or close to. They make everything that's there. The saucisson, his father walks me through. He has hams hanging in the cellar. He shows me the mold off of it. He'll take a piece, he'll cut it off. And so I was driving away from the experience last year, and I was thinking to myself, I have to figure out a way to create some sort of reminder to everybody that works at Cafe Balud of how important it is where they work. Because the house that they live in was the original Cafe Balud built in 1900. Okay, so that has all this history and has all of this meaning to his family, which should have the same meaning to everybody that's cooking that food. Because for us, if it's the crab salad that the Garmager cook is putting out, and it's the 600th crab salad he's put out that week, for the guest, it's the first impression, right? And so it's very important for us. So we sat down and we created what we call a house of hospitality. And I won't read through them all, but the most interesting one to me was the top one, which was hospitality. It says, through humility, genuine care, warmth, graciousness, and love, we commit ourselves to welcoming every guest and treating them the way that we would if they were in our own homes. What was interesting about that one is we had given a piece of paper to everybody in the restaurant, everyone from the lowest dishwasher to myself. And we asked everybody to write on that piece of paper what hospitality meant to them. And 99.9% of them wrote the word home or house, which is why we turned it into the House of Hospitality, which I thought was so interesting. So I think, we hang this up in the kitchen. It's right by the stairs when they go up and down the stairs to the prep kitchen or to the locker rooms. And it's just a constant reminder to all of the cooks, to all of the front of the house, to all the dishwashers, that the reason that we're there today and the reason that we're there for every single service, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, is to create the hospitality for the guests. And this is our constant reminder. His parents continue, and he continues to inspire all of us that way on a daily basis.
And by the way, one day Gavin said, "Oh, come in the back of the kitchen. I want to show you something." And he showed me this picture in a big poster, and he made it for everyone to see it every day and be remind. And that shows how Gavin has embraced what Cafe Balud is and really sit down with his own team and make sure that he give them structure as well on his own. And but on the picture, interestingly enough, so this was a Sunday afternoon in the village where I was born and raised, and this is the house where I was born and raised. Not born in the house, but next to it. and there's a little boy on the left between the gentleman with a pipe, and the little boy is my grandfather, so that was 1910. And he was 7 years old. I think he was born in 1903 or 1902. And they were playing cards, I guess, that afternoon. They must have been playing tarot because there's long cards. And my great-grandmother is the lady on the right. And my great-grandfather is the guy in the middle with a hat. And there's about I count about 6 bottles of wine laying around the table. So
It's a good
they were having a leisurable Sunday afternoon. Voila for the picture.
I love it. Good Sunday.
Chef Balud, in your book, Letters to a Young Chef, the focus is on advice and encouragement. In that vein, what words of advice and encouragement would you offer to this class?
Well, I think the most important thing for everyone is what I want to be. I think the question you have is what do I want to be in life? Where do I want to be? And how am I going to make a difference in what I choose the field I choose? I choose fine dining as a start. Today we worry about fine dining, saying, oh, fine dining is kind of going out and now it's all casual. No, fine dining is not going out. I don't see any of the fine luxury in life going out at all. To see, I mean, the most important is to choose the beauty in what you do. And I think the craft, it has to mean that it is a craft, what you are choosing to do. It is something where you're going to be excellent at it and you're going to be able to teach someone about it. I think it's very important. The importance of learning in order to teach and to inspire and to continue to excel in what you have chosen to do, I think it's very important. I think today you all look equal because you all have the same education, but I'm sure that in your mind, you're on the starting block and you're all going every direction. And so it don't matter where you start. You might start at the little cafe here in Montpellier, and you're going to want to make a difference in that cafe by making things a little bit better. But you can also come maybe to work for Thomas Keller, and you're going to be starting from scratch. So there might be opportunity for you where you might gain responsibility early, or you might gain responsibility later. You have to choose. You might suffer for it, or you might just have it an easy ride. But don't take it easy. I think you have spent money to learn to become a chef or to become involved with food. And I think it's very important to get the best out of it now. So good luck. I hope that one day some of you will make a big difference in this country and continue to make difference the way young chefs like Gavin are making today.
Thank you. Chef Kaysen, a great meal starts with the appetizer, that's the first impression, and ends with the dessert, the last impression. I'm giving you the dessert course.
All right.
So leave us with a lasting impression.
Well, I think what's important, what I've always done in my career is I've always set goals. And I continue to do it still today. I actually carry a list of 5 goals in my wallet. And it's funny, when I first started to work for Danielle, it was in 2007 when I started with them, and we sat down. I said, okay, chef, I have a list of goals here. And I pulled it out, and it was, the very first one was to win James Beard Rising Star. And we were walking down Madison Avenue from Cafe Blue to Danielle, and he says, yeah, we should get that one for you. Fast forward 6 months, we had it. But I think the point is like, you have to set that goal for yourself. You have to challenge yourself. As chefs of the restaurant or leaders of the restaurant, we're there to inspire you. We're there to cook with you. We're there to bury you out of the weeds when you're in the weeds. We're there to talk to you when you need to be talking to. But at the end of the day, the motivation comes from within you. So you're going to be the ones that will make that difference, and you'll be the ones that will set those goals for yourself, and you'll achieve them. And trust me when we say that there's no better feeling in the world when you're able to pull out that list of goals and check 1 off, check 2 off, check 3 off, and then write a new list. And I think that's the most important thing, because there are so many, I feel there's so many distractions out there that can push you one way or the other, and it may get you off of the stepping stone a little bit. I think if you set that list and you know exactly where you want to go, you're able to achieve what you want to achieve. So I wish you luck. Hopefully some of you will come and work with us in New York. We're always busy, so we'll be happy to have you. Thank you.
So this is truly a great honor for me and for all of you. And we want to give a warm round of thanks to these 2 great chefs who are making a difference in America. So, Chef Baloo, on behalf of NECI, we'd like you to have that.
Merci. This is Vermont Wood.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Catherine.
And Chef Kaysen, to practice your knife skills, we've given you a little cutting board from Vermont as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, I want to thank the faculty, because without them, you wouldn't be here clapping. And I know you can't wait to get out of school and start life, But congratulations and thank you to the faculty and Kathleen and Paul and everyone here at NECI. It has been quite a goal to be able to come here. And I was going to come on graduation day. So congratulations to everyone. And thank you.
Thank you so much.